All right, so October 2024, and the cybersecurity news is, well, a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? We've had some big names making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Definitely.
Casio, ADT, even the Superior Court of California. I mean, not exactly who you want to see on the front page of TechCrunch.
Yeah, not exactly a banner month for digital security.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So today we're going deep on what these breaches tell us about the threats that are kind of hiding out there, lurking in the digital shadows. What's the bigger picture and what should you be watching out for?
Well, what I find fascinating is how these recent attacks, even though they're targeting different, entities, companies, government institutions, whatever, they all kind of expose these common and really troubling trends in cybersecurity.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What specifically caught your eye? I mean, Casio. Come on, our beloved calculator company hit again after that massive attack last year.
Right.
$50 million in losses, that's got to hurt. And, it makes you wonder how this impacts us beyond just maybe waiting a bit longer for the latest calculator watch.
Oh, absolutely. The ripple effect is huge. You think product delays, potential price hikes, even the security of sensitive data held by these companies. And then, of course, there's ADT. I mean, the irony of a home security giant getting hacked isn't lost on anyone.
Yeah, a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, but beyond the irony, it points to a vulnerability. We're seeing more and more of these days supply chain attacks.
So instead of going straight for the target, hackers are finding these back doors through their third-party vendors.
Precisely. It's like finding, that weak link in the chain. ADT claims customer data is safe, but it does raise serious questions about the security measures of not just these major companies, but also all the smaller players in their supply chain.
Which, let's be honest, most of us probably don't even think about, when we're using a service or buying a product. It's this whole hidden web of connections.
And that's what makes these attacks so effective. But what's even more concerning is that some of these attacks are exploiting vulnerabilities that have been around for decades. Take the Casio attack, for instance. There's speculation they exploited a backdoor created by CALEA, that's a law from the 90s.
CALEA, hold on, remind me what that is again.
It stands for the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act, and essentially it mandates that telecom and internet providers build backdoor access into their systems for law enforcement agencies.
Right. I remember hearing about that. But how does that turn into a vulnerability for a company like Casio?
Well, while it was intended for legal purposes, these backdoors can be exploited by malicious actors. Remember those breaches at AT&T and Verizon a few years back?
Vaguely, yeah.
Chinese hackers exploited CALEA backdoors to gain access to sensitive customer data and internet traffic.
So something designed to make us safer is now being used against us. That's unsettling.
It highlights that double-edged sword of technology, right? And the unintended consequences that can sometimes arise. We're seeing that play out in real time, and it's a trend that's likely to continue.
Okay, so we've got supply chain vulnerabilities and outdated laws coming back to haunt us. What else should be setting off alarm bells in the cybersecurity world? I mean, we haven't even touched on this new group, the Meow hackers, and what they did to the Superior Court. That's terrifying.
Yeah, the Meow hackers, they're definitely upping the ante, aren't they?
It's scary stuff.
Stealing employee data, social security numbers, banking details. They even got their hands on criminal records from the Superior Court of California.
Wow.
No.
This goes way beyond, just financial risk. It's like something out of a dystopian novel. Imagine the chaos they could unleash with that kind of information.
Doesn't bear thinking about.
And what's really unsettling is that it's not an isolated incident. The report you shared, I think it was RiskSense, they said, there's been a huge surge in ransomware attacks just this year. 31 new ransomware groups. It feels like they're multiplying faster than we can keep up.
It's a bit of an arms race, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of it circles back to what we were discussing earlier about, that expanding attack surface, particularly in the cloud.
Right.
Companies are moving their data and their entire operations to the cloud so quickly, but security often lags behind.
It's all about speed.
Exactly.
Get there first, get as much as you can, as quickly as you can, and security is an afterthought.
Unfortunately, yeah, too often.
I've heard that term, toxic cloud triad. What exactly does that mean in plain English?
Okay, so picture this. You've got sensitive data just kind of sitting out in the open, right? Systems are riddled with vulnerabilities, and then to top it off, you're giving way too many users access to everything.
Oh, dear.
It's asking for trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Big time. Tenable actually did a study, and they found that a staggering 38% of organizations have critical exposures in their cloud environments because of this triad.
So it's like leaving your front door wide open, your valuables scattered around and giving everyone on the street a key.
Pretty much, yeah. And these ransomware gangs, they're getting increasingly adept at exploiting those vulnerabilities. This isn't just kids in basements anymore. We're talking organized, well-funded operations.
Yeah, this is big business.
Huge.
And they're using increasingly sophisticated techniques. Speaking of which, how much should we be worrying about zero-day vulnerabilities? That sounds terrifying, like the ultimate nightmare scenario,
Yeah.
a flaw you don't even know about until it's too late.
Yeah, they are a significant concern because, by definition, there's no patch, right? There's no easy fix. Take Qualcomm, for instance. They recently had to scramble to address a zero-day vulnerability in their digital signal processor service. This flaw could allow attackers to do all sorts of damage, hijack devices, steal data, you name it.
I mean, that's everyone,
Right.
pretty much.
And it's not just Qualcomm. Even Apple had a similar issue recently with iTunes.
So no one is immune, no matter how big you are, how much you invest in security. It can feel overwhelming, like we're trying to build a fortress in the middle of the cyberstorm. So if even these tech giants, like Qualcomm and Apple, are struggling with zero-day vulnerabilities, what can the average person do to stay safe? I mean, it feels like we're always going to be a step behind.
Well, it's true that the threat landscape is always evolving, but that doesn't mean we're powerless. There are some simple but powerful steps we can all take to significantly reduce our risk.
Okay, give me the good news. What's the first line of defense?
This might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people neglect this. Keep everything updated. And I mean,
Right.
everything, your phone, your computer, your apps, those update reminders might seem annoying, but they're often patching newly discovered vulnerabilities.
So that little notification that pops up that says, update now, I shouldn't just keep hitting remind me later.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Every time you ignore an update, you're essentially leaving the door open for attackers. Just this month, for example, Android released an update addressing 26 high-severity vulnerabilities. SAP issued critical patches for their business object software to fix some authorization flaws. And Ivanti urged users to update their cloud services appliance to address 3 zero-day vulnerabilities that were being actively exploited.
Wow, that's a lot of digital duct tape.
Yeah.
So staying updated is crucial. What else can we do?
Don't underestimate the power of basic security hygiene. Strong, unique passwords for every account, being wary of phishing emails, enabling two-factor authentication whenever possible. These simple practices can make a world of difference.
Like brushing your teeth, might seem mundane, but it prevents bigger problems down the line.
Exactly. And remember that data leak we talked about earlier, the one with Peter Glenn?
Yeah.
They accidentally left their entire system configuration file packed with sensitive credentials publicly accessible for months. A single setting change could have prevented that whole thing.
Oh, wow. So sometimes it's not about, sophisticated hacking techniques, but just simple oversights.
Absolutely, and that's why awareness is key. Stay informed about emerging threats. Be cautious about the links you click and the information you share online, and don't be afraid to ask questions if something seems off.
It's like you said earlier, cybersecurity isn't a set-it-and-forget-it task. It's an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and staying vigilant.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The threat landscape is constantly shifting, so we need to stay one step ahead.
Well, on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today. We've uncovered some unsettling truths about the state of cybersecurity, but also, and more importantly, some practical steps we can all take to protect ourselves. It's not about living in fear, but about being informed and empowered.
Well said. Knowledge is power, and the more we understand these threats, the better equipped we are to navigate the digital world safely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into cybersecurity. We hope you found it insightful and, most importantly, useful in your own digital life. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe out there.